What's going on, everybody? This is Jeremy from USARK, and I'm super excited today to be joined by my buddy Nick Lillis from Unlimited Exotics. Nick, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm surviving. We were just talking about this wonderful heat wave that we're in,
Yeah,
man. So just trying to stay cool.
yeah, it's hard to do. I am literally fried right now. It's
Yeah,
been 96 here for the last couple of days. So
man. Yeah, yeah. It is unrelenting, but hopefully we're finally at the breaking point
yeah,
because man, the
we need
ACs are working overtime.
it. Yeah, I had to turn mine off just so I could hear, but it is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I have the AC air conditioner in my house on. It's just too much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, listen, for people who might not know about you, man, what got you started into reptiles?
Oh man, animals since I was a little kid. Every day he'd bring something home. It felt like every day. It probably wasn't every day, but to me it felt like every day. So he'd bring home bunnies, all kinds of stuff. So
Oh
it
man.
started there, and then I went to my first reptile show and just took off from there. And I never stopped. So I was probably around 13 at that point when I went to my first reptile show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was there one species of reptile back then that like really captured your attention? Because I know you're a big monitor guy. So
Yeah.
was it monitors that early on, or was it
It
something
wasn't.
else?
It wasn't. It was agamids. I like Natal's horn dragons,
Oh,
Chinese
heck
river
yeah.
dragons, and I want to get back to that point one day. But for now, it's mostly monitors. They're so intelligent that it's hard to backtrack from how smart they are. And I know you've worked with them hands on a lot too, so you know that they're
Yeah,
just they're like dogs almost. I have some that literally act and listen like dogs. So it's hard to
it's true.
backtrack from that. But I there is a few species I want to go back and work with. But for right now, trying to master the varanids because there's so many different ones to work with, and they all have so many different behaviors that you can kind of immerse yourself and get lost. So
Absolutely. And I think we've all seen, of course, the Asian water monitor's been like kind of top dog as far as like learning behavior and understanding intelligence, but you've been pushing those boundaries with some of those other species that oftentimes are just kind of put in an enclosure and it's a display animal and that's pretty much it. It gets kind of
yeah,
forgotten about, like look at it's a pretty lizard. Don't touch it. Like
it's true. It's true.
so it's
And that's
cool.
that's been my focus this like upcoming year and last year a little bit too is to like get away from the in crowd and start dealing with things that never really had a light shined on them before and
Yes.
show that they're just as cool if not cooler. So that's really what I've been working with the last year or so and really diving into all that stuff. And I'm loving every second of it because they're all so different. Then
Absolutely.
water monitors are kind of, I don't want to talk bad about water monitors because I love them. I still keep water monitors, but they're kind of like a blanket where they're all kind of similar, where like
Mhm.
Indicus and all those arboreal monitors, like croc monitors from a tricolor to a quince monitor, are all so different. So
Yeah.
you could enjoy their individual behaviors, which
A
is cool.
hundred percent. Are you more focused on the Indo-Pacific monitor species, or do you work with some of the other species as well?
A lot of Indo, but I'm
Yeah,
really all over the place. I
that's
don't
fair.
really, I can't control myself. There's not one lane I can stay on. I'm lucky. I'm just on Branids and not still all over the place. So
Yeah, it's definitely once you lock into a whole family of reptiles like
yeah,
that, it can be a dangerous situation.
it's true. And then with some, like I mean, the tricolors, there's so little information on them that it's
Mhm.
like I'm finding out and seeing things that like I don't even know if there's any record of. Especially with like the spinulosis, they do so many weird
Yes.
behaviors, and they're supposed to be the oldest living monitor. So it's
Wow.
cool to see like where it started and then see where we are now with a lot of monitors and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what are some of the things that you might be noticing behavior wise in some of these less common monitor species that's taking you by surprise?
Well, the spinnings are very social. Like they'll work together on a
Mm.
task. And one was digging one day. It was a funny story. One was just digging, and the other one looked at it and was like, "I'm gonna go help you." And they both were sitting there digging together. They didn't know why,
Oh
but,
wow.
but they were both digging together. And then another time, there's a big vertical tree in the enclosure, and they
Mhm.
were almost playing where they were like jumping around the tree and like almost like playing hide and seek. It looked like oh, you're over there, I'm over there, and they were jumping around the tree just little stuff like that. It's just like, what are you guys doing?
I think it's really cool, especially when you start to see stuff like we're very used to reptiles in general being solitary. You
Yeah.
definitely don't see them
Yeah.
working together on tasks. So when you start looking at varanids and the level of intelligence within them, and you start to see some of those extra behaviors that nobody's really thinking about, like
Yeah.
that's such a cool
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's why I love them is because it's always endless, and there's never like a finish line. You're always looking at them and learning more. At
Yeah.
least I know I do. Try to learn about medical. I talk to veterinary. I try to talk to taxonomists like Dr. Spracklin. I'm always
Mhm.
trying to learn more about them, like physically, medically, and then try to implement that in how I keep. Um,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
And when you've dialed in to again like a whole family of monitors or a whole family of reptiles like that, like you can really dial in on specifics
yeah,
and
yeah,
figure out, especially when you have a little bit of love towards one regional monitor group, so that all that Indo stuff,
yeah,
like you'll find that of course those similarities across the different species
hmm,
so finding those differences is that much more exciting as well,
yeah,
and you're like, oh yeah, you're the only one that does something like that for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, even like I don't know. I've probably been keeping varanids in total for what, like 15 to 17 years about that.
Mhm.
But like heavily just keeping monitors, probably like six.
Yep.
So you have a lot figured out, but you don't have everything. Like I changed a big staple in what I've changed this year is humidity. Like I learned that
Mm.
monitors take in a lot through their nose and their like cloaca. So they need to take in a lot of humidity to be able to process through their kidneys and avoid things like gout and other diseases,
Interesting.
which
Yeah.
I had no idea. So my humidity stays like 80, 90% now, which sounds crazy, but it's what they need.
Right.
I might hate it, but they
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if you had the opportunity to see them in the wild, like you'd be like, man, this is what my reptile room needs to be, and I don't know
Yeah.
if I like that right
Yeah.
now.
Trying to hike through Indonesia, I'd probably be dying on my hands and knees trying to breathe. But
Yeah, right.
especially I have asthma, so it's terrible for me. But they,
Absolutely.
they love it. So
The
what you got to do?
sacrifices. We
Yeah.
make all the sacrifices.
Yeah. Even
Is
our
the
breathing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Is there one species that you're working with now that you're trying to breed that's kind of like the bucket list species for you, or another bucket list species
Yeah.
for you?
Well, the tricolors is like a very long reach, but
Mhm.
that's definitely one. But one that's actually happening as we speak, I actually have my phone next to me with the camera on in their enclosure,
Oh
is
yeah.
the croc monitor.